Hello there. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Snips by Kelly. I'm Kelly, and tonight I have a fun outdoor scrapbook layout design for you using the Lake Life collection. I feel like I'm the last person to get their hands on this collection. This collection is close to my heart bridge product. You're looking at the paper pack and sticker sheet and some coordinating cardstock. Bridge product means that it is close to my heart designed, Stampin' Up, purchased, and sold. It is sold out, but I know so many of you out there grabbed it up. It also includes 4 extra sheets of specialty paper, some punch outs or die cuts as they can be called, and also some craft die cuts or embellishments. So usually in the Close to My Heart designed workshop kits, there is a more abbreviated version of the die cuts, and then you can purchase a larger set separately. So this is the abbreviated version that comes in the kit, some great title opportunities and extra bits. And then this is the larger collection. Of course, they sold out almost immediately, but I've pulled out all of the craft die cuts, the punch out die cuts, and the stickers, and I've put them in my junk gypsy tray to get ready. Now, I had the idea of using this really cool background that I used creating a layout with the Valentine collection of my grandson, Waylon James. I created the background by slicing out a cool circle. But my vision was to actually do a lake scene in the center instead of the hearts that I used for my grandson's layout. So my hope was that I could repurpose a background design that I absolutely love. So I found this lake scene on the Cricut just by typing lake or lake life. It's a circle that has a monochromatic design of a lake and a dock in the background. I loved it, but I really wanted to use it with the colors in the Lake Life collection. But it's all one piece aside from the background circle. So what I did is I first ungrouped those layers, and I'm going to be using the contour tool. So once I ungrouped the layers, I could see the background circle and that the other piece is all one piece. Now I have other titles that I can use in Lake Life, so I don't need the lake title. So that's the first thing that I am going to remove. So once you hit the contour tool, you see all of the little bits that were welded or combined together to make an image. When you click on those or unhighlight those, they go away. The image is still there. It just makes parts and pieces of that image invisible. So if I wanted to, say, change the color of the water to Glacier, I could hit that contour tool, remove everything else except for the piece that I want to change colors on that piece. Now I've duplicated it because I need some of the other pieces as well. So I duplicated those pieces. Now I'm going to click on the water and get rid of the water. I'm going to make sure the sun is gone and all the other parts are gone except for the trees. And then I'm going to make the trees a sage color. And then I'm going to repeat the process of duplicating that, and then closing everything out of it. And really the process as a whole is all you're doing is clicking the contour tool and closing parts of the whole image, duplicating those parts and recoloring those so that you can have the same image in the background, but you can change all the colors and individual colors. And I use the contour tool a lot when there's a complicated image and I want to simplify it. Maybe there's a lot of little pieces that I actually don't need and I don't need to cut, and I want to simplify it so that when I cut it, it cuts better. I can do that. Now in my design that we're creating today, my water is actually going to be Glacier. My trees are going to be sage. The sun is going to be honey butter, and the dock portion is going to be toffee. Now I would use Acorn, but I don't have enough Acorn paper left, and Acorn is one of the coordinating colors in Lake Life. So I'm actually going to do that in toffee. So my circle is about an 8, I think it's about an 8-inch circle, and I want to back tuck the circle that came out of it using pattern paper, but I don't want to use up very much of the pattern paper, just the exact circle. So I'm going to trace around that negative space that came out of the center of my background circle, and I'm going to use the Lake Life wave pattern, and I think that's going to look great in the sky as well as behind the glacier water. So you can see that I colored that water with glacier. The dock now is toffee, and then my trees are sage, and the sun is honey butter. And I feel like that's a really, really beautiful design that I can put in the back of that same circle. Now I will save you time, and I will link in the description my Design Space file that includes the modifications that I made to the background lake scene. And then I'll also link in the description the video of my grandson's Valentine layout that has a free Design Space file for the circular background. And all I did for that circular background is slice out some dashed and dotted circles from the background. And it's just such a fun way to make something a little different. Instead of a standard cutout circle, making a scene inside the circle or making dashed lines outside the circle. You can make circles with your Cricut pen. You can make all different kinds of designs for circles in the background. I love to use circles in my layouts, and especially circles on those layouts that are going to have a feature photo on the left and then probably a larger amount of photo opportunities on the right. I like to have a decorative element on one page and then lots of photo opportunities on the other page, even maybe using flip-flaps so that I still get a large number of photos on each layout, but I can have a decorative element. I like the perfect combination of functional and decorative scrapbooking. I don't want to give up one for the other, if that makes sense. So now I'm just adhering all of those pieces with the glue, my liquid Tombow, and I haven't shown you photos yet. You're probably wondering why I haven't shown you photos, and that's because I haven't exactly decided. I have a whole bunch I'm going to show you in a minute, and I'm going to narrow it down. But first I want the ring outside of the lake scene to either maybe be the same or a different color, and then add some background colors as well. So I decide that I'm going to use an 8 1/4 by 8 1/4 glacier piece behind the circle, and I'm actually going to pop the whole circle up on that glacier piece and then tuck the scene down inside flush. But now I'm experimenting with what do I want in the background of that. I like the word paper. I like the net paper. I could just use Toffee or Acorn cardstock. It's kind of hard to decide what would look the best in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere the scene in the center and kind of tuck the edges under that. I've got it centered under there so that you'll see the glacier, but I didn't need to use a whole 12 by 12 glacier piece. I could just use like 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. And then now again, trying to find the perfect background. So the cutout Cricut circle that I designed, that is the free Design Space here, is 11 by 11. And so I did make an 11 1/4 by 11 1/4 pine cardstock. And then now I did finally land on the Toffee and Acorn crisscross. It could just be Acorn and Acorn, and I'm happy with that. I love that background, but now what to do? So I have all of these lake photos that are going to go great with the Lake Life collection from our annual camping trip. So I have some of all of my grandkids. I have some of kneeboarding, jet skiing, sitting in the boat. I have some that'll work out great with my grandchildren, like the towels match the color of the Lake Life background. I have some of me and my grandkids, and some of my daughter and my daughter-in-law and my son. I have all kinds of photos, but I need to narrow it down to one. I do have some photos here of me all covered up from the sun, and my kids always tease me because they say I need 100 SPF. I am a very pale person, and my daughter always said, when the scrapbooker meets the sun, dun dun dun. So I think I'm going to skip those photos of me if you don't mind. I think I'm going to go, it's kind of hard to decide. I have one of my granddaughter Maya and my granddaughter Ramsey Kate that's really cute, but I think I'm going to go with the knee boarding photo. So I like how the dock is coming out, the trees are in the background, and then when I look at the original Lake Life scrapbooking workshop, I really love how they did these fish. So they did a blending brush, and they used a blending brush with some Acorn ink in the background on Acorn pattern paper, and they did a little inking on the fish, and I love that concept, and I think I could do that, but only with a blue watercolor instead of the Acorn, using a more of a blue, maybe taking a blending brush and using a blue. But I'm going to grab out some bits. It's kind of hard to know exactly what I'm going to need, but I'm thinking I'll use some circles since we're starting with a circle base. I'm thinking that I really, really love the title that says, "Come on in, the water is fine." Now that's a lot of little pieces that you could use together or separately that came out of the sticker sheet. And so I'm thinking I could arrange those maybe on the bottom, or I could curve those, which is probably a signature for me. I love curving written words, sticker letters, die cut letters, all of those kinds of things around a circle focal background. I think it never gets old. I think there's always different ways to change it up. And I love the concept of taking some of the bits that came right in the kit, the die punch outs, the circles. I can probably cut some of these circles in half so that I can use those on the rest of the workshop. So this is actually the very first page of my Lake Life Sparkle and Shine scrapbooking workshop, and it's typically 12 pages. So I'm going to want to conserve some of the bits and pieces. It seems like there were so many bits and pieces that came with this kit though. I do see myself wanting to do a little journaling, so I like the hexagon journal piece with the journal lines. I think I can snip off some of the pine hexagon frame. I like the stitching and the distressing around that, and it kind of gives me the idea of maybe I want to do a little distressing on the photo mat edges, a little distressing on the stickers, and a little bit of distressing on the die cut punch out pieces. So now I'm kind of getting my groove here. I'm thinking that I would love to have water coming around the curve in the circles, and maybe tuck "It's Fine" underneath, do a little bit of decorating on that later, and then "Come on in, the water's fine." Now I don't want "come on in" just kind of hanging in the air. So I love the idea of using this little tag piece that is part of the die cuts. The punch outs. However, it's the exact same color as the circle that I have up at the top, and I don't really have a different color circle, so I may use it as a pattern and cut out a different piece of pattern paper. So now I'm trying to find the perfect photo mat. So I have the photo of Maya Jean. I have it matted in an 1/8 inch white, so 4 1/8 by 4 1/8 for a 4-inch photo, and I try a 4 1/4 pine, but I decide to go with 4 1/2 by 4 1/2 pine so I can have some room to do some distressing. Now I'm experimenting with all of the pattern papers to find some place for the "come on in" to land. I think it needs to land on something where it stands out, and because it's on a glacier background, it's a sticker with a glacier background, I don't want glacier on glacier or anything that blends right in. Sage, it could be sage. It kind of looks like a cross between sage and glacier. I want it to be on something darker so it pops. So here I'm just measuring the die that came right in the kit, and it is 2 1/2 inches. And so I think I can use that as a pattern, which is another thing that I love to do. I love to take dies and punch outs that come right in the kit, lay them over the top of other pattern papers, and make more of those same elements. That way it helps me to stretch to a 10 or 12 page workshop because I have a lot more elements that coordinate with each other. So if sometimes in a kit you may only get two pieces that are alike, and if you put those on top of the pattern paper that comes in the kit and you make more of those, you're able to make cohesive elements that can go from page to page to page. And so your workshop then begins to look like it came together as a whole instead of a whole bunch of different elements on each page. And I really love to make cohesive workshops. I have made workshops that have completely different elements on each page, but I kind of like to tie them in at least a little bit. So now I'm looking for a little piece that can go on the top of the fish pattern. I finally landed on the fish pattern, which is an extra specialty sheet that came right in the kit. I ended up using that tag to cut another one, but I made it 2.5 inches long. The other one that came as a punch out was shorter. And then I love the heart tag as well. The hearts will be upside down and that doesn't bother me a bit. So now I'm going to use just the craw or the edge of my scissors to distress the edges of the 4.5 by 4.5 pine. I'm going to do the same thing on all the circles. I'll do that on some of the extra pieces and just distress those edges. And then I think I'll probably come in with some toffee ink and I will add a little, dirty those up a little bit to be more like lake life and have that coordinate. Now I would typically do Acorn since Acorn is the coordinating color for this workshop, but I actually am going to do it in Toffee. Toffee is my go-to distress ink color. Now, if you are have Stampin' Up! Inks only, I'm really loving Pecan Pie for that. It's a little tiny bit, maybe a half a shade darker than the toffee, but maybe not quite as dark as Acorn. So Pecan Pie is a great alternative if you're using Stampin' Up! Inks. Now I want to go through before I start distressing these and cut off the pieces that can be cut off because I may or may not want to distress the other half of those pieces. So I want to get those cut before I distress them. I'm going to snip off about 1/4 of the pine hexagon. I think that's going to work great. I'm just going to have to figure out which direction it's going to lay and get that to work out. And then I can come back in with the ink and be able to dirty those edges up and really give it a nice flavor, a nice texture, and it's going to look wonderful, I think. I really love the tag with the fish, the pine tag that we created out of the pattern paper with the fish, and I think it's going to work perfect to hold the first portion of that title. I like the concept of the title going in 3 pieces, so you've got some rectangle part to make the title, you have circles to make the title, and you have a little tag or a little banner to make the title. Now I'm just going to experiment a little bit with how these pieces might go and do a little bit of embellishing. I'm going to cut the journaling piece in half so that I can save half of that for the rest of the workshop and be a little bit frugal with some of my pieces to stretch the workshop. Now I can resume the distressing and distress some of those other pieces. So I'm so excited about the Lake Life collection, and like I said, I feel like I'm late to the party. I have seen so many demonstrators create with Lake Life and make the most amazing layouts. Some of them not just water or lake, but they've used it for mountain themes, for hiking. There's so many great outdoorsy colors in it. You could use it for just about any outdoor theme. Um, but it's been crazy busy. I just haven't had one single second. I think I made a bonus layout with it, and I did also use it in my July Stamp It Up bonus kit. And I used the Frosted Forest tree dies in that, and I loved how that turned out. But other than that, I haven't been able to make my Simply Scrappin' or my Sparkle and Shine workshop, and that is my mission. I'm hoping to get that done here within the next couple days. And sometimes I just like to kick it off with a focal page to get myself familiar with all the bits that are in the kit and really get a feel for where I want to go and the direction that I want to take in the workshop. We are a working family, and Maya Jean, that's pictured here, is such a hard worker. She works all summer long. We're a family of farmers and ranchers and business owners, and so it's pretty rare for us to ever get to take a day off, and especially a weekend off or a time where we actually can all be together. And this weekend actually didn't work out for all of us to be together. We had to split up, and some came sometimes, some came others, but we do an annual camping trip and boating trip. Now I'm looking here at those die cut fish. I have two large, so I'd like to change that to one large and one small. I'm going to grab my foam dome top for my mini ink blending tool, and I'm actually going to grab the one that has Lagoon on it, and I'm going to dip the Lagoon into my Glacier ink, and I'm going to rub just the bottom of the fish to give it a two-tone. And I love that. I love that it has a titch of Lagoon at the way bottom and it moves in to Glacier. And then I'm going to change my dome tip, and I'm going to change that to my Glacier tip because I want the water to only be lighter colored. So I want it to look like a little bit of blending and water, and I'll probably do some splattering on top of that with a Glacier shimmer brush and just make a really nice little feel like the fish are swimming in the lake, and then Maya is kneeboarding, and it has that great scene in the background, and I'm loving the way it's all coming together. It's definitely not there yet. I have some work to do here, but I'm loving it. Now I want to actually come on some of the bits and add a little Glacier in those bits. If you see the original workshop, they did do a little blending inside some of the die cuts. They did a little bit of blending on top of some of the stickers. And there's lots of times where I love to use the prototype that came from the company's workshop. I don't always make the company workshops. If I love them, I make all of them. But if I have a different plan, I don't always make the workshop as is. I just use those materials and I stretch them from a 6-page workshop to a 12-page workshop. But there's always, and I mean always, elements within the original corporate workshop that spark ideas and inspiration. I will like a cluster. I will like some inking that they did. I will like some stamping that they did. And I try to stay true to the designer and really draw from some ideas in the original kit and then go off in my own direction. And it never ever ends up looking anything like the original, but the bits and pieces and the inspiration that I get from that original workshop are invaluable. So never underestimate all of the tips and tricks and ideas that you can get from a corporate workshop. Even if that workshop isn't your style, there's always so many cute elements within it that you can incorporate into your own page and give it your own take. So now I have my all-purpose mat out, and you saw that I just added a little bit of Glacier Shimmer brush in the upper left and the lower right on top of the ink blending. Now I can build my photo mat and build my pieces and just see kind of where it takes us. This is my favorite part. I get to embellish and do all of the fun bits and pieces. I am going to pop up the photo of Maya Jean with foam tape. I'd like that to be standing up on top of the pine photo mat and give it a little bit more dimension. So now we've got some texture with the shimmer brush. We have a little bit of interest in texture with the blending brush. We've done distressing and inking around the edges, and we're creating a little bit more texture, interest, and depth by popping up some of the pieces with foam tape. I can see popping up water in the title and popping up come on in on the title as well. And I think that's going to give us dimension across the top and dimension in that lower left corner. But as I was saying, we are a working family. There really isn't any downtime for farmers and ranchers and business owners in the summer to be able to just go off and have fun. And Maya Jean, I think, has 2 jobs, and she has been working all summer. And I love that she got to come for one relaxing weekend and be able to kneeboard and swim and ski and do all of those things. We just don't do it often. Well, once a year is really our youngest son, and our my son-in-law, or my daughter's husband. They do it a little more often because they do camp on a more regular basis. But it is very, very hard because summer is work time. Summer is work time. And so I love that I have so many lake photos to be able to complete the Simply Scrappin' and the Sparkle and Shine workshop for Lake Life. So the 2 workshops together would give me 22 pages. So I went crazy and took so many photos of each of the grandkids doing the knee boards, and each of them doing tubing, and some on the boat, some off the boat, some swimming, some at the cabin, and I love that I have those and that we can document a time when we can walk away, even briefly, to be able to have fun. It is one of those things where sometimes you have to tag team, and a mother's dream is always to have all of her kids and grandkids together at one time, and it didn't happen, but at different times I got to see each of them, even if it wasn't all together, so it was wonderful. Now I'm thinking about an accent color. So we've got a lot of nature tones. We have the green and the brown and the light blue, but we really needed a pop of color, so I want to pull in the paprika. There are just some small dies and small stickers in the paprika from the sticker sheet, and I'm thinking if I have a little bit of a triangle, I can create color balance. So if I go with a little bit of paprika somewhere in the upper left, somewhere in the middle right, and then somewhere in the lower left, that's going to create a nice color balance and a nice visual triangle of balance and a balance of color. I feel like I have all the other colors balanced pretty well. We have pine on the upper tag, and then pine on the is fine in the title, and then pine on the photo mat in a visual triangle as well. And I think if you kind of keep that in mind, I feel like visual triangle is basic 101, but it's something that I learned from close to my heart right away, that you can do things in series of 3, you can do things in visual triangles. There are many times where I break the rules, but in general, if you're trying to get balance and you're not understanding why it isn't balancing, if you go back to the foundation of a visual triangle with color as well as with embellishments and clusters, you will find that you'll end up loving your pages a lot better. And there's a lot of times where you can't quite put your finger on something that's unbalanced. You don't know why. And then when you go back to the foundation of that visual triangle, you will probably likely end up being so much happier with your page. I know I am. It really, really does help. So now I'm fussing with the, there's different hearts in the kit: sticker hearts, die hearts, wood grain, die cut hearts. And then as you can see, I am pulling out my textured dots. So Stampin' Up! Has these textured dots, and I'm obsessed obsessed with them. Do we need more on this page? No, we don't need more. We have plenty with the craft embellishments, but there's something about these textured dots on outdoor masculine pages. I'm obsessed with adding them, and I think that they add so much. So I'm just adding a couple little sections of those and fussing just a little bit with these, and I'm getting happier. I'm almost there, and I really love how we were able to take that same background and do a Valentine layout with it and then use it again in a different way. So you can see from puff hearts in the circle on the left to a lake scene in the circle on the right, you've created something brand new and you've repurposed one of your favorite backgrounds. Don't be afraid to use your same patterns, your same backgrounds over and over again in different ways. They're going to look like completely different layouts. I hope you enjoyed the tips and tricks today. Thank you so much for watching. Won't you hit like, subscribe, and the notifications bell, and stay tuned here on Snips by Kelly for more to come. Happy scrapping, everyone. Bye-bye.